Hello, and welcome to the Celcom Africa webinar. Today, we'll share who we are, what we do, and how we are shaping the future of business communication across Africa. At Celcom Africa, our mission is to empower organizations with smarter, faster, and more reliable tools to connect with their audiences. Celcom Africa is a next-generation communications and technology company serving businesses in over 27 countries. We believe every business deserves intelligent and affordable communication tools. Our core values, innovation, reliability, integrity, and customer success, drive everything we do. We provide end-to-end communication solutions that help brands engage, verify, and retain customers. Our services include bulk SMS and messaging for alerts and promotions, APIs and integrations for seamless system connectivity, voice and USSD services for two-way engagement, enterprise solutions tailored to industries like banking, healthcare, and e-commerce, and coming soon, bulk WhatsApp messaging for rich conversations, airtime solutions for instant rewards, surveys for real-time feedback, bulk email marketing for personalized outreach. Our platforms are fast, secure, and built to scale across Africa and the world at large. The future of Celcom Africa is about innovation and expansion, from AI-powered automation to data-driven insights that make communication smarter. Thank you for joining us.
Hello, my name is Hilary, and I'm going to take you through the USSD functionality. Majorly, USSD allows for real-time interactive menu-driven communication, which can be used by the simplest phone and to the largest smartphone. And it needs no internet connection or any data plan for you to access it. So making it easy for access by any device. We are going to create a USSD menu from the scratch and host it so that we can access and be able to access the service. So our scenario is creating a USSD service that allows for employees to register for Lipa mobile device. The menu should capture the following information. That's the name, the ID number, the company name, mobile device that the user requires, and then in the end we trigger for the initial payment using M-Pesa gateway for payments, which is SDK push. We have chosen an architecture of LAMP stack architecture, which is PHP as a programming language, MySQL as the database, and Apache as the web server. So first we will design the database. We will create two tables, which are USSD inbox, which will be saving the sessions and the user input, and then the transaction table, which will be saving the M-Pesa transactions that the users have paid. So we go forward to our database to check on the tables and see the columns and how it is structured. So first we look at the So I've created a database called USSD demo, and there are two tables. That's the USSD inbox and the transaction table. So under the USSD inbox, we'll be having a couple of columns. That's the link ID, which is like the primary key, and it auto increments. The temporary level, which is like the level on the menu that the user has reached. So for example, the first menu can be the home page. The second menu can be the inputting of the name field. And then the third menu can be the level for inputting the mobile number or your ID number. So the session ID is for tracking the sessions that have been entered in the system. And then the MSISDN is the mobile number. And the short code is that's the code that the user has dialed, like the *265*39#, which is actually the menu we'll be using as for this demo. Secondly, finally there is the message column, which is for storing all the user inputs. So for example, if you have entered your name, your mobile number, they'll all be stored. They'll be concatenated into a single string under the message field. In any case, this can be done otherwise, but this was a scenario that we saw it to implement this way, which is setting up as minimal number of columns as possible. Finally, there is the transaction table, so it will hold the, let me open the structure of the table, which it has the ID as the primary key, the payment request ID, which will be the tracking number of that checkout. This will be the ID shared by the Safaricom. The MSISDN is your mobile number that was triggered for payment. And then the description is the device name that you are paying for and the amount. So all these fields are in string format except the amount, which is decimal and has two decimal places. So after designing the tables, we can now go to implementing our USSD menu from the code. So I will open the code on our VS Code and look at the structure of the project. So first, we have the example.php. This is the main script that handles the workflow of the menu. So first, we get the utility class that assists us in terms of saving the records in the database and also the functionality that are outside, like triggering the SDK push. So we'll just be calling the methods from that to make queries to the database and also trigger the SDK push. So at the top of the script now, we can get the values from the request. So the request comes with the session ID, the USSD code, the MSISDN, and the input. Session ID is a unique value that tracks each of the sessions that the user dials. USSD code is our USSD code, which is *265#, which is a shared USSD code. And then there is the MSISDN, which is the mobile number, which is triggering the USSD menu. And finally, the input is the input that the user enters, like the *2*. So it is a string that is separated by asterisk. So to get the specific values from that list, we have to explode the list of the input. That's a string input, which will explode it into an array, which creates an array. And to get the last value of the array, which will be the last menu that the user has entered. That's like the last input the user has entered. So by default, the last input will be our main menu will be star. So let me write star. Our main menu will be star 265 star 39 hash. So the user input will be 39, which will be the default value. So once we get the last input as 39, we'll know that will be the last input there. That will be the home page because it's the default value for our shared USSD code. So we can get so we check if the last input is not equals to 0, we create a session. That will be like the first menu the user has entered. We create that session and store it in the database so that we can be able to track it for each of the input the user has entered. So for our homepage, we enter the response. So we initialize the response as welcome to Lipa Pole services. Please select the option that's register. And then option 2 is request for support. You cannot start, there is the keyword of con, which is a keyword for USSD services, which allows for, so once you initialize the string to start with a con, it as a response it will have an input field. So for this menu, it will be having the input field will allow the user to enter 1 or 2 for those services. And then we can store the last response in the database so that we can track it. So the last response, the response key will be main menu response, and then we save it as the level we have reached in the database. So we store and track it using the session ID. So this method, if we can look into it, it updates the level. So update SSD inbox set the level as this level where the session ID is this. So from that, we can be able to know the last input the user had entered. And then at the main menu, if you dial 1 as a register, we'll move to the next section of the workflow. So with this case, we get the current level. If we get the main menu response, we'll and the last input was 1, and then you can prompt the user to enter the name. So from our scenario, we had said the first thing the user should enter is the name. So if the last input is 1, we can prompt the user to enter the name. So please enter the name below. And then we track that level of the menu with a keyword, which is register name response. And then we save it in the database. So we'll save the input the user had entered, which is the last input. And the session ID. So the last input will go and update in our USSD inbox. We'll update the message field. So if we open this save input method, it will assist us to save the message in the user input in the message column. So we update the USSD inbox, set the message as so we concatenate of each of the values that we are entering, we concatenate with the pipe character. Then where the session ID is equals to that session ID. And then we limit it to 1. Then we update. Secondly, we will update the level in that USSD. The USSD inbox table also will update the level the user had reached. So in this case, the last level the user had reached is the name, entering the name response. So we save that last level in the USSD inbox so that it assists us in the next stage of the menu. So if we get the register name response, means the user had entered the name. So the next one is entering the ID number. So next we prompt for the input field, and then we ask the user to please enter your ID number below. And then the keyword for entering the national ID number is register national ID number response. And then we save it as we save the input. That's the last input the user had entered under the session ID. Then we update also the level as the level which is register name response, which is the last level the user had reached. So after that, so this is basically a switch case. So you in the switch case you have the current level. So for each of these, it will be prompting for that user that menu. We check the last menu the user had reached, and then now we can prompt the next menu for the user to enter the results. So once you have entered the national ID, we go now to the next one, which is selecting the company. So when selecting your company, we have entered a few companies a few sample companies, which is primary companies to select from. So they have a list which is Ukele Security, ABC Solutions, and XYZ Corp. So here the user will either enter 1, 2, 3, or 3. So we also save the stage the user is in, which is registering the company response and also entering that input. So we save the input under the session ID, also save the level under the station ID. So after that, now we have registered the company, we can move next to prompting the user to select the device. So we have created a sample mobile phone brands, which is Samsung A23, Infinix Watch 9, Tecno Camon 4, and then under the level of that will be just registering the device response, which is the keyword. Then save the level and also save the input of the user. So saving input, it saves in the message field using the concat. So we concatenate those to make it easier and also it will create a fewer number of rows because we are utilizing only a single row to enter a particular session. So the last bit of the menu is now, once you have selected the device, we can get the amount. So in such a scenario, maybe you have this in a database somewhere, you can query the amount for the selected mobile brand, and then you can get the amount, and then that amount now you can use to trigger for payment. So for our case, we have statically entered the amount. So for the case of, so if you entered Samsung, you can get 800 shillings as the initial deposit. If you entered Infinix, we have 400 as the default amount. There's the static amount, and then the Techno Common 4, we have 500 as the static amount. So once the amount has been picked, we can now end the session. So the keyword for ending a session is the beginning your message with the end. And then now you have selected the device name, that specific device name, and then please pay the amount to the M-Pesa SDK to complete your response. And then now the final level, which is the register purchase. So we have to save that level also, so that you can be able to track the level the session had reached. And after that, now we can create, we can trigger for the USSD, for the SDK push, the M-Pesa SDK push. So first we create a transaction to be able to track that transaction, then create an SDK push. So if we check at the creating a transaction, we have entered the mobile number, the amount, and the device. So we can cross check the code for that. So first we create a connection to the database, and then we insert the mobile number, amount, and description into the transaction table. So for that, we can be able to insert that. Then after inserting the transaction, we can now create an SDK push. So SDK push also takes the same parameters, which is the MSISDN, which is the mobile number, the amount, and the transaction ID from the transaction we had created. So creating an SDK push will first, this will be the implementation of the, Daraja gateway, Safaricom Daraja gateway. So first we need to get the password. So this will be like generating tokens. This stage we are generating tokens. Then finally we can use the password to enter into the request body to be able to initialize the SDK push. So this is a card request to Safaricom. So once it's successful, we will get the checkout request ID, which we update on our table also. So we save that we update that in the transaction table. Then you can be able to track that the SDK push that had been sent to that specific mobile number. and that will be the end of the workflow. So since you had entered the keyword end, the USSD menu will exit there, and then trigger the SDK push, and then that will be the end of the case statement. Any menu after that, if you try to trigger it, it will give you the default message that is, thank you for registering. We shall call you back for further information. Then these are the default menus. When it doesn't match any of these menus we have created, so it just exits with the option. This option has not been implemented. Please try again later. So that's the workflow of our menu. Next, we'll be able to dial the USSD and then be able to get the responses. So we can open the mobile phone, then make a request, and then we'll be able to see from the logs. So I'm going to take you through the USSD menu. So first I'll dial the USSD code star 265 star 39 hash. So it will bring the home page, which will prompt for the two options, the register and buy, and the second one is support. So we'll prompt for the first option, which is register. And then you can enter your name. So I'll put a dummy name, Evans. And then the ID number, let's say 2349065. And then you can select the company. So we had three options, that's Ukeli, ABZ, and XYZ. You can choose number 3, and then it will prompt you for the devices for you to buy. So there is the Samsung A23, the Infinix, and the Tecno. We can choose either of the two. So let's take Infinix. So once you have finished, it will complete the session, and then you'll be prompted for the SDK. So as you can see, it will give you the SDK push to enter the M-Pesa pin. So I'll end it there for the workflow. Thank you.
It's been a long session. I hope you've learned a lot from my colleagues. I know time is not enough to compress all that we had for you, but if you scan the QR code on the screen, you'll be able to join the community, and let's continue this conversation beyond this point. I know there's so much we can learn from you, there's so much you can learn from this community, and we're waiting for you there. Please scan the code and join us. Thank you.